Let's explore the references, messages, and other winks that directors have hidden in their works, like Star Wars and Toy Story. Film is about more than just the stories that are shown on the screen. Some movie fans like to feel like they know the makers of their favorite movies on a personal level. This feeling comes from seemingly small things like Easter eggs that build a real connection and a deeper level of involvement. What are Easter eggs in movies? Easter eggs are a part of culture that started out in movies and video games. Most of the time, these eggs are simple Easter eggs that are hidden in plain sight. These messages can be secret jokes, references to other works of art, messages, or anything else. They're a way for writers and directors to wink at their audience, and they're like a little gift for people who are paying enough attention to catch them. Easter eggs are hidden references in movies that are meant to surprise the audience. Keep watching to find out about 10 great Easter eggs that you might have missed in your favorite movies. But first, let's take a quick look at how Easter eggs have changed over time. In 1979, the first Easter egg was made. Stephen Wright, who used to be in charge of software development at Atari, came up with the name Easter egg more than 40 years ago. Wright came up with the idea when he was trying to figure out how the author of the video game Adventure, Warren Robinett, got a secret signature into the game in 1979. When a person stood on a certain pixel called the gray dot, his piece of code showed the words written by Warren Robinett. Atari didn't find out what had happened until 1980, when a child wrote to tell them that he'd found the message. By then, it was too expensive to redo the code and take out the secret message. Wright told them that they should instead put hidden references in all of their games, which is what they did. They came up with the term Easter eggs to describe these tiny clues. Because of what the name meant and what it stood for, the idea of leaving notes behind started to spread. Now that we're finally getting down to business, let's take a look at the top 10 Easter eggs hidden in some of your favorite movies. Number 10, Taxi Driver, 1976. 2 cameo appearances by Martin Scorsese. The film's director makes 2 brief appearances in this movie. When we first see him, he's just a background actor sitting in the middle of the street and looking at Betsy. The second time, which is much more clear, he plays the writer whose wife is cheating on him after he sees her silhouette in a window. Number 9, Captain America, Winter Soldier, 2014. Easter egg, a reference to Pulp Fiction. The movies that are part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe are full of Easter eggs that make references to the comic books that Marvel Studios makes. They also make references to movies that take place in other worlds. For example, Colonel Nick Fury's epitaph in the movie Captain America: The Winter Soldier starts with the famous speech that hitman Jules Winfield said in Quentin Tarantino's film Pulp Fiction. Samuel L. Jackson played both of these parts. From Ezekiel 25:17, this verse says, "The path of the righteous man." Number 8, Scream, 1996. Easter egg, a reference to The Exorcist. With the release of Scream, Wes Craven solidified his position as the most important person in the horror film in the 1990s. He put Linda Blair, who played Regan in The Exorcist, in a cameo part as a reporter to make his movie as good as other great works in the same genre. This is definitely a tribute to one of the best horror films ever made. Number 7, Tron, 1982. Easter egg, a reference to Pac-Man. The 1982 sci-fi adventure film Tron tells the story of a game creator and programmer who gets pulled into the software. At the time it came out, it was thought to be a big deal. In one scene of the movie, director Steven Lisberger shows a close-up of a spaceship circuit screen that looks a lot like Pac-Man, one of the most famous characters in the history of video games. Number 6, The Birds, 1963, a cameo appearance from Alfred Hitchcock. Many people think that Alfred Hitchcock, who was born in England, was one of the best movie makers ever. However, many of his fans are unaware of the fact that he's acted in 39 of the 52 films that he directed. In the 1960 horror movie The Birds, which he directed, he has a small part called a cameo. You may recognize him as he walks out of the pet store with 2 small dogs, which are his true pets in real life. Number 5, The Godfather, 1972. Easter egg, oranges as a message hinting at death or betrayal. Fans of The Godfather, which is widely considered to be one of the best movies ever made in the United States, will be happy to hear that director Francis Ford Coppola put Easter eggs all over the movie for them to find. What's one of the most famous examples? When you see an orange, it means that someone is about to die, betray someone else, or be betrayed. Number 4. Star Wars The Phantom Menace 1999. Easter egg, reference to E.T. the Extraterrestrial. In this chapter of his epic narrative, George Lucas, director of Star Wars, supports the fan notion given in the previous line. He also crafts the ideal conclusion for the plot point established in Spielberg's earlier film. Without a question, 3 senators in the Galactic Senate are from the same species as E.T. Number 3. E.T. the Extraterrestrial, 1982. Easter egg, reference to Star Wars. In the famous movie by Steven Spielberg about an alien who gets stuck on Earth and wants to go home, there's a scene where the kids in E.T. dress up for Halloween so they can go trick-or-treating. Because E.T. sees the other trick-or-treaters dressed as Yoda and seems to know him, people who've seen both movies can figure out that the events in both take place in the same world. Number 2. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981. Easter egg, reference to Star Wars. The Indiana Jones saga is another one that's full of movie references. This scene with the pictograph walls and columns is one of the best parts of George Lucas's movie about the explorer's search for the Lost Ark. But when you look more closely, you can recognize a scene from one of George Lucas's earlier works of art. R2-D2 and C-3PO, 2 of the most recognizable characters from the Star Wars story, can be found tucked away among the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics that make up the symbols. And number 1. Toy Story 1995. Easter egg, reference to The Shining. One of the most famous scenes from Stanley Kubrick's horror movie The Shining, which came out in 1980, is when Danny rides his bike through the creepy hallways of the Overlook Hotel. It's a scene that's known for building suspense because it blends the innocence of youth with a feeling of dread. When you look closely, you'll see that Toy Story recreates the carpet from the hotel in the house of the movie's bad guy, Sid, who's known for breaking his toys. We see this as Buzz and Woody try to escape from Sid's house after he's caught them. This is just one of many Easter eggs that Pixar's put in their different titles as a tribute to the director. For example, there are a few more hidden in the Toy Story series. Film fans have a lot of fun looking for secret messages and references to other works of art to figure out how creative the screenwriters and directors were. What are your best jokes or references that aren't obvious in movies? Tell us what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more interesting videos. If you like this one, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to this channel.